So our next presentation is from Dave Okert, who's a local guy and is part of the team that has brought this whole show to you. Now he's going to be doing some technical stuff, but really he's keen that you can see the detail of what he's doing. So he'd like to invite you all to come up to the front and actually stand around this area so you can see what's going on. Okay, great. Over to you, Dave.
They need it for their stream. Well, if we can set it up here, Gary. Got her? Outstanding. Great. Okay. For the people that just came into this one and weren't in the last one, I'm Dave Okert. I'm Dokert. I'm also Doc, and I'm retired Navy. I've been collecting, repairing, and restoring video games and pinball machines since 1987. Like I said, I'm retired. I have nothing better to do with my time than to fix games. And as long as I enjoy it, I will do that. I don't move very well, and sometimes I shake a lot. That's because I have 5 plates in my neck and 15 screws. And working the show is kind of difficult, but I really love to do this. What we're going to do for you today is we're going to show you how to replace headers and connectors, which is a common source of problems for both pinball machines and video games. In pinball machines, it's mostly in your GI circuits in every manufacturer. It doesn't matter whether it's Bally, Williams, Stern, Gottlieb, all of them, Data East, they all have GI circuit problems. The headers burn up. What they used, and I didn't bring any with me, is they used what's called an insulation displacement connector. And essentially what you're doing is you're taking a metal pin and you're driving a wire right down into it like this. And that's all the connection you get on it. And it's the worst connection in the world. And when it's 30 years old, it overamps and it'll burn up your header and your connector. Your GI lights don't work.
So GI, sir.
I'm sorry, GI, general illumination. Those are the lights that are on all the time as soon as you turn the pinball machine on. What I have in front of you on the table, I do specialize in power supplies, amongst many other things. Monitors is another thing that I specialize in. This is a Williams power supply out of something such as a Robotron, Stargate, Bubbles, Joust, and it's been completely rebuilt with new headers and connectors. They're very notorious for burning up the input headers and the headers where the bottle cap transistors connect up. And this power supply is an earlier power supply of the same version. I have one on each end. This is for a Defender or an early an early Stargate. Basically, it's the exact same thing as that, except older.
What year range are you talking?
This is 1980, and this is probably 1981. Within a year's time frame, they made that change. Right next to them on the inset, these are Bally solenoid drivers. And the Bally solenoid driver is the main power for any older Bally game, 77 to 1985. It's also the same thing as a Stern solenoid driver. Stern was a little bit different. They placed the chips in different locations. But other than that, everything was the same. Where these have problems is these headers burn out. But the smaller headers, these .100 headers, bend or get broken a lot. Okay, I don't know why, but people have a hard time replacing headers. This is what we're looking to eliminate.
One quick question.
Shoot.
You mentioned this a couple seconds ago. Worst type of connector is the IDC.
It is.
Is there a better connector we should be using? Because all they sell are IDC connectors.
Oh, that's a great question. All they sell is IDC connectors. That is not correct.
I'm sorry. For many of the pinball places, there's lots of IDC connectors, but they don't say you should be using this instead. Why bother?
Okay. Well, I brought my bag of tricks, and in my bag of tricks, I have many different things. Bear with me here for a sec. Now, there are two basic sizes. And this applies both to pinball and video. You have the .156, which is the larger size, and then you have a .100, which is the smaller size. The easiest way to identify the difference in the two of them is if there's 10 per inch, it's a .100. If there's 7 per inch, it's a .156. Now the question is there something better than IDC? You have to go outside of your normal pinball sources to some of your better pinball sources or some of your video game sources, and you're going to come up with a Molex connector. Okay, a Molex connector uses pins. They use trifurcon pins, whereas it has 3 sides. So now you're putting 3 sides around that pin instead of taking a piece of wire and jamming it in between 2 really fine edges. Does that answer what we're looking for? Okay.
What sources have
What
these
sources?
magic connectors?
I'm going to give you a lot of different sources for these magic connectors. Unfortunately, the problem with a show like this is for me to make a big presentation and have handouts and whatnot. Most of you are not going to stuff it in your pocket, don't want to walk around with it because you're going to play games, and that's why I did not do that. I will give you a lot of different sources. One of the best sources for Molex connectors is Mouser, and it's mouser.com, MOUSER.com. One of the best pinball sources is Great Plains Electronics, all one word, .com. There are several more that I can give you. If you contact me via the SMAC group, and we're on a Google group, or the WPC, if you remember the WPC, if you contact me via there, I'll put together, sometime after the show, I'll put together a list of all kinds of sources for you, where you can get the headers, where you can get the pins, and there's also, now this connector that I have in my hand, this is a .156. The harder ones to find are the .100, and that is more of a pinball one that goes bad. And those are smaller pins. The actual pins, pull out some pins. I don't have the .156s with me. They're over in the work area.
But you're only concerned about on the .100s. Your only concern is generally bending or damage, physical damage to them. Is that correct?
Unless it's an older Bally. An older Bally, you can get acid damage. Matter of fact, the Williams, you can get acid damage. If you had a battery set there where it leaked, where it had an old NiCad battery, and it'll leak down into the J4 connector, when that acid damages that header, most of your solenoids and whatnot won't work.
I guess in response to his question, I'm thinking if all we're worried about is physical damage to that or the acid damage, it could be replaced with something from one of the pinball houses that's an IDC connector, right? And we don't have to worry about the amperage problem that you would have on the GI connector.
You could replace it with an IDC if you wanted to, but the quality difference and the longevity is about 100% better with one of these pins as opposed with a Molex as opposed to an IDC. For example, the Joust pinball machine that keeps going down on us, it has a bad IDC connector in it. The Star Trek The Next Generation, where the trough keeps kicking out balls, it also has a bad IDC connector, and I'll be replacing that connector sometime later today or early tomorrow. And that pinball machine will probably be up for the rest of its life at that point.
Molex.
With
What
the
about
Molex.
A cheap method like using copper coat or something on the pins.
Don't know. I don't know. These are so cheap. It's not worth. I pay about $1 for one of these. It's 24 pins, and I break it down to whatever I need: 15, 4, 2, 3.
Some of us solder like a kindergartner, so that's why I was asking.
Well, you know what? I'm going to give you a chance at that. I'll give you a chance at that because what we're going to do. Normally, I like to work with the most generic tools that I can get, and just so that everybody else can get the same thing. You know, I used a Radio Shack iron for years just so that other people could work with a Radio Shack iron, you know, and we're working with the same thing. Finally, my wife said, no, you're getting a Weller. So I did. This animal right here is an invaluable tool. This is a Hakko or a Hakko 808 desoldering tool. This is a very key tool. It has interchangeable tips. Right now, the tip that I have on it is a 1.6, which makes very short work of removing a 1.56 header. I use a 1.0 to remove the ones, and 0.8 in most cases to remove chips.
So what does it do? Heat it up?
What does it do? It has a little vacuum pump on it, and it sucks the solder away. Once it sucks the solder away, it's just like you just stuck it in the hole. You might have to put your needle nose pliers on it and give it a little wiggle, but it comes right out of there. That's what we're going to demonstrate. And I brought a whole box of these wonderful boards with these power supplies. And these two power supplies started out like this. Pretty bad, pretty rough. And I'm going to pass this one around. This one covers a lot of things that we covered in the last lecture about where a route operator, if they don't have the right tool, they'll solder the wires directly to the pins. That's what's been done on this one. And it's not a good fix. I mean, it's a fix to keep the money coming, to keep the quarters coming. But for a collector, it's not a good fix. Anybody wants to look at that one? I have several like that. The other thing, this one has, in addition to bent pins, it has burnt pins on it. And that would be something like you'd see in a GI, as with this one with burnt pins.
Where is the, I can't remember the acronym now, the IDC.
Okay, that would be the connector. Okay, this connector, this is a Molex, and it would go on here like such. The IDC is the insulation displacement, which they were originally shipped with. The reason they use insulation displacement connectors is because they're fast and cheap. You can take a wiring loom and set up a bunch of nails on this table, run wires all the way like this, and you take this punch and you go bink, 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 done. The average warranty back in the day was 90 days. You just paid $2,500 for a Pac-Man machine, and your warranty is 90 days. If it goes out in 90 days, we don't care. It's not our problem. It's your problem.
So when you replace with one of these headers, you use the Molex connector to join to it?
Yep. Yep.
So the headers are different than the ones that would connect with the IDCs?
No, these headers will work with IDC.
Okay, but it doesn't have a little locking mechanism, the plastic lock.
These do, yeah.
Or do they?
Yeah.
Oh.
The 156s do. The 156s do. Usually none of the 100s will.
Dave, do you have the crimping tool to show them as well?
I do.
Shall I pass these around?
Sure. Okay. This is the crimping tool that I use. There are many out there. This one is mine. These can be, the best place to buy these is testequipment.net, and it's tequipment.net. The reason that these are best is they will crimp the insulation and the wire at the same time, so it's only one crimp.
What was the name on that?
Testequipment.net, and their web address is tequipment.net. These are called barrel crimpers. They run about 20 bucks. This $20 set is probably it's probably made $5,000–6,000 for me in the last year or so. Yeah. Molex does make crimpers, but usually if you can find them maybe on eBay or Amazon, you might be able to get a set for 80 bucks, but that will do one size only. Molex is very, very specific. If you get a multiple size in a Molex, it'll usually run you $200–300 for a set that is equivalent to that. I will say that that is a right-handed set. And the reason I say that is Richard Godwin, who was just here, is extremely left-handed, and he cannot use those to save his ass. And so, therefore, he hates them. Well, it's like a right-handed gun, you know. I mean, that's what you get. So what I thought we'd do is I thought I'd run this Hecko 808, which I like to call Sucky Sucky 5000, and
Where would you look for a Sucky Sucky 5000 if you want to purchase one?
same place, testequipment.net, good place. Locally, you can actually get them down at Fry's. And down at Fry's, I think they run about $175. The additional tips are about $15 a piece, something like that.
Are they that much better than the Radio Shack Bulby?
They are so much better than the Radio Shack Bulby. I'm going to let you try it out. I'm going to let you see what you think of it. One of the things I want to point out that also causes problems on your headers and connectors, and especially in the GI circuit, I just noticed it on this board, but this has cold solder joints on this particular header right here at the top. The easiest way to tell is when you're looking at the back of this header, you see ringlets around the pins instead of a good minutia solder ball. Yeah, we'll just pass it and everybody can pass it around. But this particular header right here, next to the white one, white cement resistor, has got the bad cold solder joints. Now I'm going to take this one with the totally trashed setup, and we just pop Sucky Sucky on there. And it takes a couple seconds because this is about a 15 pinner if I remember right.
Tell you how well that sounded.
Well, you know, it's funny. My dog, I have a little Cocker Spaniel that's 6 years old, and she loves, ow. She loves everything that,
Sucky Sucky.
yeah, she loves everything that's a power tool, like a saw or anything that, you know, anything that makes noise, you know. I light off Sucky Sucky and she runs for the hills. I haven't figured it out.
What temperature does Sucky Sucky run at?
I have no clue. I'd have to go through the manual and take a look.
Finger, damn hot.
What do they
Yeah.
want for one of those?
Okay, about $175.
Wow.
And as we were just talking about that, that's how quick and easy it is. Okay.
That's
So,
Yeah.
okay, anybody that's ever worked on a Data East motherboard in a pinball machine, you want one of these because they know that a Data East motherboard is about this big and about this tall, and it has 50,000 connections on it.
Dave, a question for you. So the individual that say does this like once or twice a year, and I'm relatively new to this. Your thoughts on using a desoldering braid, which I've had semi-decent luck in the past. It's extraordinarily inexpensive, a couple bucks, and it takes a lot more time than that.
Okay.
But it does work. I mean, just pros and cons.
What he's asking about is desoldering braid, and it's braided wire. It's like the ground wire in a pinball machine. It comes in various widths from about 1/8 of an inch wide to 1/4 of an inch wide, and it's coated with rosin. And what you do is you would place it up against here, apply your heat to it, and it'll suck the solder out. I used that for a long time, and I never had a problem with it. This is just so much faster and more convenient.
Obviously.
even for somebody who's only going to use it once or twice a year, in my opinion, it's worth the money because of the time and aggravation that it saves you.
Sell it on eBay probably for a good price too.
Yeah, and you can sometimes you can find them on eBay used, you know, and they're totally rebuildable. So if there's anything wrong with the unit, other than it being smashed into bits, it's rebuildable, and it's rebuildable for less than $100. I mean, the motor, the pump, you name it. Not much to it.
What would you normally charge somebody for doing that repair?
Depends on whether you're nice to me or not.
Well, say this guy over here off the street.
Well, okay. My wife says I'm too easy. This power supply right here, totally rebuilt. I get $35 exchange for it. You have to give me your bad one, and I hope that it's not like one of these, for $35. It's got about $20 worth of parts in it. Okay, and I ship these for $35 exchange. So I make about $5. Okay, I do it because I love it.
I'm just gonna get your card.
Well, I can't be played. That, you know, but I will say I am easy. I'm not cheap. But
That's cheaper than desoldering braid, actually.
yeah, yeah. Well, see, and you come to repair parties, and we bring tools with you, and we, like I said, in the last lecture is that we started the repair parties to maintain that the games are all up. So far this year, we've had a few more monitor casualties than we had expected. But you're working with something that's 30 years old. They were all working when they left everybody's place because I actually checked them all, and well, now they're, you know, we had one actually smoke a flyback transformer. You know, it was playing good. All of a sudden, the picture just kind of went like this, and then smoke came out of the back. Well, you shut it off, and I'll fix that later. And with Sucky 5000, it takes me about 10 minutes to fix that. Whereas most people, it takes them about 4 hours.
Quick question on the headers.
Mhm.
Is there a difference between the black and white plastic?
No,
No, same.
just color. No difference. Some of the cheaper ones don't have. Some of the cheaper headers don't have the locking back. Locking back can be good, can be bad. It just depends. You know, if you're going to continually pull your game apart, well, that's bad. You know, if you're going to put it together, leave it together, and let it run, it's a good thing because it's not coming apart on you. One of the things that can be bad are the aggressive ribs on the connectors. If the ribs are too aggressive, then somebody who has no strength in their hands anymore can't get it apart. And then I have to have my wife come do it for me. You know? And she does. She carries monitors for me. And she helps me up when I fall down.
Using this tool, is it, I know it's possible, but how easy is it to burn up the trace when you're trying to do that?
That's what we're going to get at now,
Okay.
because I was just going to go there. Okay, it heats up fast enough, and you suck the solder off fast enough. Most cases, you will not burn up a trace. Some cases, the little ringlets will lift. Okay, if the ringlet lifts or the trace lifts, who likes to shop at Lowe's or Home Depot? This is slug bait. Okay, what slug bait is, is it's copper tape. Okay, you can cut this into any shape you want, and you build traces with it. The other thing that you can build a trace or repair a trace with is a leg to a resistor or a leg to a capacitor. It's very easy to do, and that fixes just that sort of problem. This stuff, if I remember correctly, it's a 15-foot roll, and it runs $7.
So with that copper tape, then how are you attaching that?
It's self-adhesive on the back, so it's sticky. You stick it on there, okay? There's a big fat trace right here. All right, you just stick it across the break. You're going to take the non-conformal coating, which is the green or blue on Data East, or sometimes red, whatever color it is, you're going to take that colored coating off and scrape it down to the copper, place that copper tape across it, and you'll solder across both pieces. And then you've just made a bridge.
So I've used copper tape that is used for stained glass windows too.
Same stuff.
Thinner.
Same stuff.
And also for alarm industry and windows, the old style.
Exact same stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Yep.
You said it's scrape off the component?
Yep.
You can't dissolve it?
It's just easier to scrape it. You take a screwdriver pick, whatever.
And it won't damage the trace underneath.
Nope. It's going to scratch it up a little bit, but it doesn't damage anything. No. Well, if you get the original color of the board, which is green or tan, you've gone too far. It's that simple. It really is.
On like a Williams power supply, I was capping a lifted trace.
Mm-hmm.
If it didn't break, is the trace still good if I'm able to get it back down flat on the other side of the board?
It doesn't matter whether it's flat or not. It's still a good trace.
Still good. Okay. So
As long as you can solder to it, it's a good trace.
Okay.
What does happen sometimes is when people lift a trace, it actually breaks. And if you can see these traces coming down here, right down here, it'll break right there, right below it. Okay, and that's where you need to create your bridge, is if you have a crack. That's another thing. Cracks. If it looks like a scratch, take your meter to it and verify continuity of it, because it may not be a scratch. It may be a crack. I see that a lot. They say, "Oh, it doesn't work." Put my meter on. It's cracked. It's not making continuity. That's why it doesn't work. And same thing. Cap leg, a little bit of copper tape. You created a bridge. It works fine. So what do we think? Who wants to give this a shot? Who's daring? Joe, you want to give it a shot?
What am I doing? The
Come on,
soldering?
come over here. Here, let's pull one of these off. Here, take this little one right here. Just pull that sucker off.
That one's got a lot of solder on it.
Yeah, let it heat up for a second. Can't destroy the board. It's right now the board's trash until I repair it.
That one's got a lot of solder on it.
Oh, it's got a piece of wire on it.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Okay, 17 on splitter. Go ahead and pull that baby off. Remember, it's hot. All right.
Does sucky work on other types of solder joints as well, like soldered wires?
Yeah, it works on good stuff.
Does it come with the right tip for the?
It comes standard with the 1.6 tip.
Okay. I see your
That's what we're using is the 1.6. The 1.0 and the 0.8 are additional ones that I use. The 1.0 gets the smaller ones and is better for caps. The 0.8 I use for chips. For example, like these chips, these IC chips right here. If I use a 0.8 on it, I can get this chip off here without destroying the chip.
Wow.
And if we
Do
had,
you generally always drop a socket then on a chip?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Anytime I pull a chip in anything, it gets socketed. And I forgot my box of sockets, but I've got a box of sockets and I socket everything.
Solders in when the chip came out?
Yep. And the best practice that I've found is if you take the new chip and install it into the socket. That way, if you overheat the socket putting it in, it doesn't melt the sides of the socket, and you have better connection with your chip.
So you're talking about trace repair.
Mhm.
What happens traces on the top of the board where the IDC connector would go, and that actually got melted off.
Okay.
So, but typically I believe there's like a via from the bottom to the top, so on the solder.
Okay.
How would you go about repairing something like that, where like the via would totally get trashed and then the top pad got lifted?
Okay. Okay. If you create a good enough solder joint on the bottom, it really doesn't matter about the top, providing that the top does not actually go off into a trace.
The top goes off into a trace.
Okay. Now, if the top goes off into a trace, that's when I break out the copper tape, and I would create like a little O-ring.
Okay.
And just.
Not quite
so
as
the
fast
solder's
as you.
going to climb up inside and solder itself to the top. Is that the theory?
Yes, it will flow through.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of times, and matter of fact, on these in particular, a lot of times when the bottom ring comes off, the bottom ring is not used, and the top ring, which sits underneath the header, is used.
Yeah.
And then I think that's kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah, I had to do a hack job on that.
It looks like hell on the bottom, but the solder flows through and will adhere to where the ring is.
Okay.
And since it's not used on the bottom, I really don't care. And so I won't put a ring on it.
Okay. So the ring is just something that you make up out of the copper tape. Okay.
Yep. Want to give it a shot? Come on up, give it a shot. You look very excited. Yeah, you. Yeah, come on up, give it a shot. You look very excited about this. I'll even get it started for you. We're going to do this little 5 or 6 pinner.
Gotcha.
Real basic, real simple. I'll do the first one. You do the rest. Just like that.
Okay. How often do you have to clean the pump area? Just like my solder depoter?
Now on that, if he gets to that point, you'll know because the sound will change, and it's starting to fill up because the sound changed just a little bit. Hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. That means we've got a big ball of solder in there, and we're just going to open it up. We'll whack that solder out, and we'll be good to go again.
Wow.
That one has a jumper on it.
Yeah, just run right on top of it. Right on top of it. We don't care about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other types of connections?
Yep. Yeah, I use it. It just depends on the size of the what you're desoldering, and you'll go up or down accordingly. Now on the Sucky 5000, this little animal is your catch cage or whatever you want to call it. There's your lump of solder. It's all cleaned out, ready to roll, and just slap it right back in there.
I got to hit these two again.
That's right. You'll get a little better suction this time. Yeah. Don't reuse the solder, and don't grab onto the solder either, because it, oddly enough, once you dump it out of there, it is still hot. Yeah, I haven't had feeling in my left index finger in 5 years, and usually when I realize something's hot, it's a little bit too late. Exactly. Yeah. Let me show you something a little bit easier.
I still don't have that one free yet.
Okay. Now, you're all free. If you come across the pins and you rock them just a hair,
That should do it, yeah, right.
it should. And yeah, you're
It
free.
should.
You might have to hit that one just a little bit more.
So I've noticed with GI, sometimes the connectors are a little bit tinged yellow.
Okay.
A lot of the times whenever I'm doing a repair, it's not preventative, it's fixing the completely trashed connector.
Right.
When does one know when we should be doing this type of work?
Okay.
Because obviously we're risking a
If-
$600 board every time.
If you have any pinball machine that does not have a Molex on the GI, you should replace the header and the connector. Okay, and the reason that you replace both is because when the IDC connector goes bad, it burns up the header. Always. And you may not see it, you may see a slight discoloration. If you just change out the connector and put a new Molex connector on it, on average home use, you'll get about 3 months out of it, and it'll burn up.
So even
Very
if,
common.
Even if it works, you got a pin you want to hold on to for a while, replace the headers and connectors.
That just
the
in the
GI.
GI, the header and connector, yes.
And that's because that's such a high amperage circuit compared
Yes,
to everything else?
it is the highest amperage circuit other than the solenoids. You're drawing most anywhere from they're about 8 amps, and there's usually 2 GI circuits per machine.
So what about LEDs? Is that ever an issue? I mean, obviously it's a lot
Beyond
less
where the
current.
welder
No, if you go to LEDs, you're never going to have that issue,
Okay.
especially in the GI circuit. LEDs draw about 1/8 of the power, so on an 8 amp circuit, you're drawing about 1 amp. But if your headers and connectors are already bad, your LEDs could be weak and not as bright as they would normally be. What do you think?
This is why it would take me 4 hours to do it. It takes you 4 minutes.
But still, it took you what, a couple of minutes?
Yeah, but we did get it off.
And you hit it a couple of extra times, no big deal, right?
Right.
What do we think?
Yeah. Worth it.
Be worth it.
It really is. It's worth the money.
All right, now be honest. Do you work for Hacko?
Yeah, you got some.
Who?
You getting a commission?
And why do you think I call it Sucky 5000? Because I really don't care what the name of it is. It's Sucky 5000. It's awesome. Now Weller, they should be paying me.
That's Hacko HAK.
Yeah, it is KK. I thought it was just 1K. I don't know.
And that's the 633.
No, the 633 is the stand.
Oh, I'm
The desoldering gun is the 808. You do want to buy the stand. It's like $10 because this thing gets really hot. It does come with a oh God, what is that? Asbestos sleeve or whatever you call that. Fireproof sleeve, but that's kind of a pain to keep laying down on your bench.
I thought you were going to say the stand was $950.
So what do we think? Do we like it?
It's awesome.
Somebody else want to do it?
I'll take a shot at it.
Bring it. There, take that one right there.
Do you always get the breakable headers? You ever-
Always. There's pretty much there is no. Nowadays there is no individually 6-pin, 9-pin, 12-pin headers. They're all breakaway.
If you buy a 6 or 8 pin off Pinball lamp or something, they will have taken a breakable.
Ooh, you just brought up a good one. No, Pinball Life, they probably still have them manufactured for them that are just that, and they'll be white, and they will not be locking headers. There are still some of those out there. Great Plains Electronics also still sells those. I don't think Marco carries those.
So this is the way it's going.
I couldn't see any. Why should I pay $1 or $1.50 for a 6-pin when I can buy a breakaway for $1? And to be honest, I pay a lot less than $1 because I buy these in bulk.
Is that the same case with the Molex connectors, or are you getting those in exactly the size you need?
Well, there's 2 different schools of thought on that. Okay. You just grab across all the pins, and you're going to rock it like that. There's 2 different schools of thought on that. You can get about the largest you can still buy. They came in 20s, but they're hard to find. You can get a 15 now. If you get a 15 and you cut it down, okay, they cost you 50 cents a piece. If you get a 6, it could cost you 50 cents. Where I buy them in massive bulk, a 6 costs me a nickel. Okay, and a 15 still costs me 50 cents. So I'm going to use the exact sizes. And
I think it was this old Pinball when they get into talking about connectors and stuff.
okay.
That guy actually gets in the, talking about the life cycle. He thinks the number of cycles it can handle and what different qualities. It sounds like it was overkill when I read through that.
the life cycle. Don't be don't be tied to the life cycle on these things. The life cycle, what he's talking about is every manufacturer, whether it be Molex or whoever makes these, they say there's a life cycle. The life cycle means that you can take the connector, whether it be IDC or Molex, and put it on 25 times and take it off 25 times, and then it's bad. Okay, that's what their testing has said. This is an average. No, I'm not buying it. They can't sell me on that. That holds them to their liability. That's their liability is 25. After 25, if it still works, it's good. If it doesn't work, they're not liable because they said it's only 25, and you went to 26. In reality, life cycle on these things until they start to corrode or burn up, they keep using them. They're yeah.
So it's BS and just ignore what he said.
It's more like towing the company line is what it is. You know, the company says after 25 removals and insertions, this is going to go bad, and you know you're at 26. Well, we no longer have to honor your warranty because you're at 26. And it's very understandable, but to us, it means absolutely nothing.
It's not like you're going to be counting anyway.
I can't remember how many times I take things apart. Yeah, I can take it apart 25 times making one repair.
Yeah.
I mean, that could happen, you know.
Before it's probably getting late. I want to get this in, but we haven't discussed soldering yet.
Okay.
My specific question is, how do you clean your boards post solder? I mean, do you like do some sort of rosin cleaning or throw some alcohol on there?
Let me throw it out there. I'm lazy. I don't clean nothing.
You don't clean it at all.
You know, if I clean something, then it doesn't work. Now, if you have excess rosin and excess rosin on one of these boards is going to look like brown goo. What you would want to use is a lint-free cloth with a 90% or better isopropyl alcohol. When you go to wherever, Braided, Walgreens, Walmart, Kmart, Safeway, and you go look at the isopropyl alcohol, if you actually pick up the bottle and look, most of it's about 60%. But if you look further down the shelf, you will actually see, and it'll be labeled 90%, 92%, 95%. If you get the 90 or better percent, that's what you want to use to clean with. And you want to use lint-free cloth. You don't want to use Q-tips because Q-tips will leave traces of cotton behind. You know, most people think, oh, yeah, I got these great Q-tips and put my alcohol on there, and yeah, you've actually made it worse. Because now instead of having just brown rosin goo, now you have brown rosin goo and cotton. So, lint-free cloths, and you get those wherever. You know, you can pay the big bucks and buy them from Pinball Resource, which that's kind of silly, but you get like a 6-pack and it costs you, I don't know, 10, 20 bucks. Whereas you can go down to, I don't know, probably Home Depot or Lowe's, buy lint-free cloth, a couple bucks. Microfiber stuff, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Probably got chunked with the plasma TV.
Yeah, if you have an LCD TV or a plasma TV, you go to the eyeglass shop. Wherever they sell eyeglass, that's cheap. Good stuff.
Can you talk about crimping for a second?
I can.
Or would you please talk about crimping for a second?
What would you like to?
How do you go about crimping? How much wire do you have exposed? Crimping and insulation?
Well, it all depends on the things that you're going to use. And I don't think... No, I don't have any wire with me. Otherwise, I'd do a demonstration for you. But... Oh, I do have some Trifurcon pins with me. My stuff's kind of a mess. Okay. If you want to come up and take a look at it real quick, we'll use my little pointy stick. This is a Trifurcon pin, and as you can see, it has 3 sides. It's got these 2 little wings. Okay, on my little pointy there. Now, in the back of this thing, you've got the 2 wings in the back, and then you've got 2 wings in the front. 2 wings in the back, you want the insulation there. The 2 wings in the front, you want to take the wire right to the edge of it and bring the wire out just a hair. So roughly about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, and here we can pass some of these around. And everybody can actually see what these things look like here. And take these are Trifurcon pins. And what you're trying to create is a gas-tight seal. The only place that you actually want the wire visible is in that forward set of wings. And just a hair right out of there, and it'll be a perfect gas-tight seal.
That's the insulation should be in
The insulation should be in the rearmost set of wings.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's so the wires in the finer part, and the insulation is the fatter part.
The wire, yeah. The insulation will go here. The wire will go here.
And it goes underneath underneath the little clip part.
Yep. Oh no, it doesn't. No, it's not going to go.
Where does the actual?
No, the wire is actually going to stop right here.
And then it gets crimped down on top of it.
No, this is actually what's going to. This will be like this. Okay, this is what's going to mate with your header.
Oh, the header goes in that way.
Header goes in my
Right. Okay.
I got a question. If you have like a 2-wire that needs to go on the same pin, how would you go about that? Would you put the 2 together and then crimp the 2 together, or do you go outside and try and solder them?
Okay. The question is if you have 2 wires. Okay. 2 wires, I lay 1 wire on top of the other. Okay, and I'm going to kind of pinch them together a little bit. And when I crimp them, they will both seat underneath there.
Okay, so you can do a 2-wire.
Absolutely. That's a common misconception on insulation displacement connectors, where the connector comes through and it loops back around, and so you need to go to 2 different places. No, you just pull that thing out, cut it in half, strip both ends, put it together, crimp it up. It's good. Back in. We're over time, so I gotta clean this up and get out of here.
They needed to allow you more time.
Well, they didn't allow potty breaks in the middle, and it's one of those things.
Thanks very much.
Anytime. Sure, I can use all the help I can get.